Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. We have a special guest today, Manny Lopez.
Woo
Um,
woo.
I'm your guys' host, Anthony. We're in Camou Studios, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you guys want to see any of our platforms and episodes, go on to at Camou And Associates. You can see all of our previous episodes. If you want to go check us out on social media, we're also at Camou And Associates. How about you, Manny? What's your guys' at?
Instagram is Learn with Manny, or you can find me on Facebook, Manny Lopez 888.
All right, cool. So, Manny, you're like pretty famous actually.
Nah.
Nah, he's famous. He's famous. So, you're an entrepreneur. You're like a business coach,
Mhm.
consultant. You've collaborated with many high level individuals, one of those being Les Brown, right? You've been on TEDx. Like, this guy's, he's up there, guys. He's up there, guys. So,
Just staying busy. Just staying busy.
I just want to say thank you actually for coming out to Camus Studios to support the platform, to support us. And we just want to just say thank you for coming out, really.
My pleasure, my friend. My pleasure.
So, we know that in the beginning,
Mhm.
things weren't so cool. Weren't so, amazing as they are now. But I just wanted to give you an opportunity to dive in wherever you wanted.
Mhm.
Because we know right now life is amazing, life's great. You're doing a lot of crazy, cool things. But how did it all start, like for you?
So, with entrepreneurship, it was a pretty interesting kind of segue because I never thought of myself of becoming an entrepreneur. Never thought I would become a CEO. And it took mentorship from somebody that I didn't even expect to become a mentor.
Oh
I
wow!
was just bouncing around a bunch of side jobs and different hustles and things like that, just trying to make money and not
At what
realizing.
age? At what age was this that you were encountering this?
So this was probably like 19 plus.
So you're like 19.
Yeah, so I'm about 19 years old and I've just become a father. Um, Now I'm like, okay, I need to take life more serious because when I came back from the Navy, which is a very short stint, we can get to that later. I just thought, I need to make money and I need to support this family that I'm wanting to create. And so I'm doing sales jobs, I'm office jobs, I worked at, Toyota, Nissan. I've done all these different just oddball jobs that didn't really have much of a future for me because I never thought of myself of being at the top of really anything. I just thought, I got to work my way up the corporate ladder, as they would say. And by the time I was like 21, 22 ish, is when I got sat down. This was after a promotion that I thought for sure I had locked. I did everything they told me I was supposed to do. I'd been at this company for about 2 years, the longest I'd ever worked anywhere. And the opportunity didn't come. It didn't hit for me. And I was so discouraged. I go to my boss at the time, which was my first mentor. His name is Gail. And I told him, I'm like, man, just this kind of stuff doesn't happen for people like me. And he knew my story, being adopted. I was left in a car at 18 months. And shortly after that experience, I'm bouncing around a bunch of different foster homes. Finally get adopted after about 8 different homes that I
Wow.
was put in. And by the time I was 18, 19, that was a crutch for me. It was just a constant reminder of like, well, it just doesn't happen for people like me. It's for people that don't have these types of growing up lifestyles because I never saw anybody that had a similar life to me that was successful, right? I never got that example to look at. And fast forward, I'm sitting down with Gail and we're talking about this whole situation and he goes, "Let me show you something." He pulls up his computer, goes onto YouTube, and he goes and finds this video of this guy that is speaking at the Georgia Dome in front of like 80,000 people, and he's inspiring them and all these motivational stuff. And I'm like, Gail, I don't need a motivational video right now. I get it. I'm in a bad mood and I'm not happy with my life right now. And, I'm just not in the mood for that. And he's like, no, 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 I'm not trying to motivate you. I want to show you who this is.
Hmm.
Okay, this is a guy named Les Brown. He's a former foster kid like you, Manny. He was adopted. He had to go through challenges in school. He had all these things that you're telling me is your crutch to why you can't go out there and build your own dream. Because he sits me down, the first thing he says is, Manny, it's time for you to build your own dream. right? You need to go out there and build something for yourself. You should be the CEO. And I'm looking at the CEO of this company I'm working at, and I'm like, what are you talking about, Gail? That's crazy. Like, it does not happen for someone like me. And he shows me this Les Brown video, and I was just floored, where I was like, here's an example of somebody with a history just like mine, and he's out there building his own dream. And at that point, it clicked. It was just like, it is possible for someone like me. And he told me, he's like, you need to become an entrepreneur. You can't go build someone else's dream. You need to build your own. And that's where my entrepreneur journey started. And it took 2 years to try and actually find something that I could take into an entrepreneurship. And I was homeless twice by the time I was 25 trying to build this idea. And it was complete chaos.
This was
And
when you were on your own?
yeah, between 20 to 25, I was homeless twice. Nancy was with me the whole way. She's been with me since high school. You know, he knows my wife. And it's, you know, a crazy journey that it all started from watching that video.
Wow.
And making it possible for someone like me to say, you know what, I can do this. And, you know, it's a bumpy road from all of that, but 2011 is when I actually started my own business that I still own to this day. And all of the crazy journey that's come along with that it's been a roller coaster for sure.
I didn't know that you were homeless twice.
Yeah.
You told me like things were rough, things were this, that, and the other, but I didn't know you guys were actually homeless twice. That's tough, man.
Yeah. Imagine like waking up one day, you get a knock on the door from the sheriff, not expecting. I mean, it was just out of left field. And they're like, hey, you need to get out of this place within 1 hour. I was like, what? What? Like my entire life? What are you talking about? They're like, yeah.
Wow.
And like I explained the whole situation. They gave me like 3 hours to get everything out. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I had company at the house at the time.
No.
And they were like, what is going on? So that was my
man.
first stint of becoming homeless. And then 6 months later, homeless again. And it was crazy because the day that I was literally going to be on the streets, that Saturday morning, I had to take everything out. I had 1 week to move out. And me and Nancy are just going around all these different places trying to find somebody that would allow us to rent, you know, because, I mean, we just had an eviction on our record 6 months ago. So we're like, no one's allowing us to move anywhere, right? And we found this little Mexican family, didn't speak any English. They had converted their garage into a 1-bedroom. And we lived there for a whole year. And that was when I started my business. I sat Nancy down and I said, babe, this is going to be a rough road for us, but I need you behind me in this and us to build this dream together. And she was with me every step of the way, from the first one to the second one to everything in between. And I promised her, I said, by the time I'm 30, because I was 24 at the time when I started my business, and I said, by the time I'm 30, because this is going to take some time, it's not going to be an overnight success. You know, from everything I've been learning on this journey, this is going to be a rough road. But this is a road we have to go on. We can't rely on somebody else to provide for us. I have to provide for us. And by the time I was 30, we had all these different checklists of like, we're going to have our daughter. We're going to live in Lake Elsinore. We're going to be in a 2-story home. I'm going to have a successful business. Like everything that I wanted to check off by the time I was 30. And I promised her this is going to happen for us. And I remember my birthday when I was 30 years old and I hit 30. And the only thing I had not checked off at that time was living in Lake Elsinore. And so I was like, okay, it's my 30th birthday. We have to make this happen this year. By August, my birthday's in March, and by August, we had moved to Lake Elsinore, and we're here ever since.
Man, that's crazy, especially for your wife, because that's a big commitment. And, you know, she's young, and, you know, she can probably go find somebody else that's, you know, 10 steps ahead of you. But
Exactly.
she decided, you know, I'm going to go all in on my husband.
Right? She went all in, pushed all the chips in for me.
That's cool, man. That's something to be real proud of, because you don't see that a lot. Things get tough, and then everyone starts looking around like, that looks like a better option. I'm out.
Exactly.
So you're really lucky, man. But you proved yourself, and you did what you promised. So that's also very commendable, man. That's out of the struggles that you've had. What are some of the lessons that you've taken from that?
Serve first. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've come across in entrepreneurship. Most entrepreneurs or people in business, just people in life in general, they look at what's in it for me. What can I benefit from this if I'm going to
Yeah.
show up to this, or I'm going to invest in this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
hang out with this person or whatnot. Like, what's in it for me is what I've always seen. And
Right.
that's what we see in the world today,
Right.
But in real entrepreneurship, I mean, I've been around billionaires and decamillionaires and the people that have built amazing brands and companies. And when they get to the point where it's like they've got that FU money, where it's like, I don't need to care about anybody else's
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah.
that's when you get the real answers. And
Yeah.
it always comes down to that: mentorship, entrepreneurship, and faith. And faith in whether it's a higher power, faith in yourself, faith in the idea that you can actually create something for yourself, but you have to serve first. That's the biggest key. This is how I've been able to collaborate with people like Les Brown.
Yeah.
It was the inspiration for me to become an entrepreneur. Then I had the opportunity to meet him in 2012 when I was invited to this event. That it was crazy because I went to this event once. I do a lot of networking in my business, where I go to expos and networking events and just meeting other people to learn about what they do, because I'm a sponge for knowledge. I want to learn about how people do things, why they do things, and what it's all for, And I went to this event that I didn't expect to go to, because I already knew the audience there, and I'm like, none of these people are fit for what I do.
Right.
I was in that mindset of, what's in it for me? Should I be here or not, right? And something told me, just go.
Just
go.
go.
Don't expect anything. Just be present and absorb. And I go to this event, and they start asking me questions about my life and my journey and everything I'm doing. And there was somebody in there that didn't speak, didn't ask questions. They were just at the table we were at. And later on, he calls me and he says, "Hey, I heard your story. I was really inspired by it, and I want to invite you to this event that you should definitely be a part of, because the big the big money makers, and the people that are making massive moves in business, and the influencers, and just people that are doing things at a really high level, they're all going to be in this room." And I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And he goes, "Oh yeah, it's only 5,000 to be there, right?" And I was like, "No, it was like
Yeah.
it was like $7,000 to be there in that room." And I was like, "I started my business for less than that." I mean, that's crazy to think I would spend that much for one event. And they're like, "Okay, it's cool. Well, if you change your mind, let us know, because we're going to have Les Brown as our keynote for this event." And I'm like, wait. Les Brown? Like that, you got to be hungry, Les Brown? Like, yeah, that Les Brown. Like, he's going to be there? He's like, yeah, he's physically going to be there. You can meet him. You can shake his hand. Like, we'll introduce you to him if you
Wow.
go to this. And I'm like, that's crazy. So I go to Nancy and I tell her about it. I'm like, "Hey, I got invited to this event. It's in Vegas, and I've got to be gone for like a full week. And I'm going to go to this event, and it's going to cost us like every penny that we have right now
Wow.
to go." And this was right before Christmas, where, a lot of the budget gets really tight around there,
Wasn't this the first year you're in business, technically?
2012. So I
Yeah.
started in 2011, August 1st, my son's birthday. Oh man, that's a story as well, because I first partnered with this company. I worked at this, I'm not going to say the company's name, but I had worked before I actually started my business. I worked at this company that did a service called SEO, search engine optimization. And I was just a salesperson there. I would take calls and I would convert them into the service, the program. And they would come to me, the head upper management would come to me and say, "Hey man, you always got some unique ideas. What do you think about this new thing called Facebook?" This was when Facebook's just getting out there. They're like, "It's starting to overtake MySpace. I think it's going to be the next big thing. Find out what we could possibly do there." And I looked at Facebook. I would go on these things, and I was like, "Man, this thing is so blank. Everything's like, there's no background colors. There's
Yeah.
nothing, no branding." This is back when the most you could do on a Facebook would put 5 images that can go into one big image, and that was like the coolest thing you can do on your pages and profiles. And I was like, "Man, this thing is ugly." because I come from the MySpace days where we're just everything, all kinds of we had music boxes and
Your
stuff
top
moving on
10
the
or
screen.
whatever
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
And so I come up with this concept that what if we like had a way that a business could be displayed in a very branded way right on Facebook. They never have to leave Facebook to do it. And they loved this concept. We ended up kind of partnering together where I was kind of like running an office for them. And then they totally effed me over on it. I had a bunch of employees, a bunch of people from my own like family and friends from high school that I had brought into this opportunity and said, hey, you come with me. I'm going to help you guys do all of this. We have a whole process and a team behind it. And come first paycheck, they just like ghosted me. They're like, nah, we can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so I sat my whole team down and I was like, hey guys, I think we just need to do this on our own. Like, I know the process. I know what we need to do. I pretty much created the whole concept behind this. So let's run this ourselves. And August 1st, because the 31st of July was payday. So I'm like, August 1st, tomorrow, we're going to start this under our own brand, our own company. I'm going to run it, and we're going to hit the ground running with this thing. And that was the day we decided to start my company. And within 4 months, we did like $80,000 in sales. We finished the year pretty awesome. But it was that stepping stone from that experience that started it all. And a year later, because I started doing a lot of networking events and things like that, that's when I ended up at that event. That guy calls me and he tells me about this whole event with Les Brown. And I sit Nancy down like, we got to do this. Somehow, I mean, I must be a really good closer because I got my wife to convince her to be like, yeah, sure, you can go spend all our money and just go to Vegas for a week.
Wow.
And meet somebody that I've never met before or never really know about. And I actually met Les Brown at that event. That was where it really started to take off because he had a son very similar to mine. I mean, we're 5 days difference in age.
Oh, wow.
And he brought him to that event. And we hung out the entire night. We like didn't sleep. We're talking about life. He had just found out he was becoming a father. I already was a father myself. So
son?
Huh?
The son?
Yeah, the son of Les
Oh,
Brown.
nice.
And so we made a really good connection. Fast forward 2 years later, I get a call from him. And he's like, hey, Manny, I'm in LA. What are you up to? And I'm looking at my schedule, and I'm like, man, I got all these calls and meetings right now. Like, I'm going to be busy for the whole day. And even the next couple of days, he's like, well, my dad wants to meet you. I was like, your dad? Like, Les Brown, your dad? He's like, yeah, duh. I don't have any other dad. And he's like, he wants to meet you because at that time, I had just got named one of the best by Facebook because we used that platform to build my company. I mean, we were closing 100 accounts a month. We're managing all these different
What were you
Facebook
doing
pages.
for Facebook?
We installed an application on Facebook pages that would allow you, when you went to that Facebook page for the first time, the first thing you saw was that application, not the newsfeed. So you weren't seeing their posts. You went to this whole like Facebook website kind of thing where we had this thing called a like booster that we would cover up this Facebook website and it would be like, you want to see what's inside? Click the like button. And back then, when you liked someone's page, you saw everything that was in their feed. There's no real algorithms at that time.
Yeah.
And so that was really taking off. Businesses loved it. And they were bringing them people to their websites. We're getting them conversions, getting them leads. We can put videos on their site. We had this really cool brand that was like exotic pets out in Chicago. And we made their Facebook page with all kinds of stuff moving, like things crawling on the screen. Like, it was really cool stuff. It was like putting a website right on Facebook, and they never had to leave Facebook to do it.
That's cool.
So it created the engagement, and we had hundreds of accounts at that time.
Is that equivalent to like a Facebook page?
It was on Facebook pages, yes. So it's
Okay.
a Facebook page, because you couldn't do it on a profile.
All decked out.
But very well branded.
Yeah,
Like
I
all
hear
their
you.
color schemes and all that kind of stuff. So it created this whole branded atmosphere.
And in 2012, that's crazy newest technology out.
Yeah, that was like interesting. But here's the thing. That technology only worked on desktops. So when you go to mobile, you couldn't access any of those applications. And Facebook, till this day, does not allow third-party applications on mobile devices. Now, back in 2012, when we were kind of implementing this and kind of rolling into 2013, I came across a quote or a statistic that said that within, I think, 2 years or 3 years, I think it was 2012, within 2 years, mobile traffic will surpass desktop traffic because a lot of people were integrating smartphone technology stuff. So And I was like, man, we're going to be obsolete if I don't adapt.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when I started building apps. And so 2012, we launched our app side of our business. And to this day, we've launched like 500 apps from what we've done with businesses. And so it was an interesting concept that, I had to innovate because people in my industry, they were like, Facebook will add the application to a mobile and we'll be fine and da da da. I mean, we're many, many years later, past a decade later, and they still don't offer that. So if I didn't innovate and pivot my business, which is another key to success, my friends, is understanding the market, understanding what is out there and what people want. People want mobile access. You got to have something for mobile.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be left in the dust. You'll be the blockbuster of your industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true. Very, very true. And there's so many things that you have to change almost on a monthly basis, because otherwise, month over month, year over year, you become the blockbuster.
Exactly.
In
Adapt
every
and
business,
overcome.
like even in my real estate business, there's things that is happening right now that if we don't change in the next 2-3 months, we're gonna be behind. And it's like every industry has this. So
right now, I would say like AI is becoming a big factor in businesses, and those that aren't integrating it in a strategic way are going to really be behind the eight ball, because there's people out here that have tenth of the talent and skill that these businesses have, yet by utilizing this newer technology can now be neck and neck with the quality that they're putting out there.
Right.
So it's very interesting times. I mean, you got to understand the market and where it's going.
So what happened with Les Brown, that appointment that did you guys end up meeting?
Yes. So I have a little video of it. I'll send it to you so you can see how it looks. But this was back when I didn't have any hair. I had like
You're bald,
shaved head.
Were you like a cholo?
I mean, in
I've seen the picture.
my neighborhoods, it was kind of like standard to
Normal.
have the baggy and the chains and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of grew out of that. It took a while, but Nancy finally convinced me to start growing my hair out, like 2016, 2017.
Oh, man.
When she's like, you know what if you actually grew your hair out? Now, here's why I never did it, though. I had this cowlick. You can't see it now because I had no idea that the longer my hair grew, the more I could actually control it.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I'd have this little swirly on my head, and I'd always think if I grew my hair out, that swirly's going to be huge, and I'm going to look stupid. And so it took many years to convince me, but Nancy was like, just grow your hair out, grow your beard out, and I've never looked back. So I was very happy that my cowlick does not swirl.
Besides those few little things, what other changes you think in your life really made a big impact in your future?
The big changes, I would say, definitely the collaboration with Les Brown was a massive game changer, because in my business up to that point, I had about 500 clients, but they're all small mom and pop businesses, service providers, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, thinking in that realm of I'm not big enough to work with the big industry leaders.
Right.
Even though I'd had all this recognition, named one of the best by Facebook and doing all these different things, I still thought, well, I need to just work with people that are smaller than me